Tiffany here with Crafty Home, and today I am doing my May wrap-up. I read 18 books in the month of May. Some of that is because I was in bed, and I still am in bed all the time, and so that kind of makes you get a lot of reading done, especially because we didn't have Netflix at the time. We just got Netflix again, and so that's kind of putting a damper on my reading. I need to like limit myself on how much I let myself watch, but yeah, so let's get started. There was also a bout of books and read your bookshelf-a-thon in May, so those helped me read a bunch too. I read a lot. I can't remember how much I read for each one though, sorry. So let's get started. The first book I finished in May was Amulet Volume 5. I can't remember the title right now. It's a middle grade. Oh, by the way, all of these are from the library, so I'll have to put a picture in of the titles. So anyway, I rated it 3 out of 5. I've been reading through the Amulet series along with my son, and I really do like it. I think the artwork is beautiful. But Volume 5 was quite a bit darker, which it was needed for the storyline, but it just wasn't my favorite out of all of them, so I gave it a 3 out of 5. The second book I read, oh, Fifi wants to make an appearance. Say hi, Fifi. Yeah. Can you say hi? No, you're just gonna cuddle. He just wants loves. Okay, here. So the second book I read was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I gave that book 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I know a lot of people didn't love it as much because it kind of follows a lot of the typical tropes of dystopian. But I thought it was enough different that I really enjoyed it. I still love dystopian, and I haven't really got tired of the same. They're all a little different. I don't know, I just haven't got tired of it yet. There may come a day, but I haven't yet. So yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. I was worried because there was so much hype, but basically Red Queen is about there's two types of people. We're gonna see Fifi's tail a lot in this video. I don't think you can see much of the rest of him, but anyway, so there's 2 different types of people. People with silver blood and the people with red blood. The people with silver blood have special powers and are the, you know, the more elite, the royalty, the people who have all the fancy stuff. And then the reds are the ones that do all the menial work and don't have enough to eat and don't have enough electricity and blah, blah, blah. And then one day, which everybody's mentioned this, not a spoiler, but then one day the main character finds out that she has a power despite the fact that she has red blood. And it's the rest of the story from there. It's really good. I highly enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the next installment to come out. I believe this was Victoria Aveyard's debut novel as well, and it was really good. The third book I read in May, hi Fifi, is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one as well. This one I buddy read. Yeah, that's the one. Yep, I buddy read this one with Felicia from Little Prairie Library, and we both really loved it. It is from 3 points of view, and so, which normally would be hard, but in this book it's so cool. So there's the princess who, this is the right one, right? Ay. They start to all blend together after a while. So there's, my husband is watching me from the other room, and it is really quite distracting. He's making funny faces at me now. So there's like 3 points of view, and the princess is supposed to get married, and she ends up like running away and not wanting to marry this arranged marriage because she thought the person was going to be really old and blah blah blah. And so then she runs away with like her lady servant. I don't know the right word for that, but and their friendship's fantastic. This book has a fantastic female friendship. And then the other 2, one of them is an assassin who's supposed to kill her, and the other one is the prince wanting to see why she ran away and find her. And so but you don't know which one's the prince and which one's the assassin. And so it makes it really interesting. And of course, like, she tries to make you think it's the other person, and then you're like, but wait a second, maybe she's trying to make me think it's the other person. And then you're like, well, maybe she's trying to make me think that you know, like, you get yourself all twisted up. And it was great. It was really great. And I loved it. And then eventually, obviously, you find out who's who, and it ends on quite the cliffhanger, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. I believe it comes out fairly shortly. I can't remember right now, but it's really, really good. I highly recommend it. Next, I read Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. This was my first Morgan Matson book, and I truly enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars as well. And it's the story of two best friends, and the one of them disappears for the summer. They're teenagers. One of them disappears and she can't find where she is, and the shyer, more reserved, introvert one is left behind. And then she gets a note in the mail with this like list of things to do that summer, and she, for some reason, thinks that if she does it, then she'll like find her best friend. And so yeah, it's her story of kind of coming out of her shell, and she really changes in who she is, and I really enjoyed it because there's quite a few flashbacks to like their best, you know, when they were together, and so that's fun. You get to see the backstory of their friendship, and in a lot of ways it reminded me of me and my best friend if we had met in high school, because she is extroverted and I'm introverted, and sometimes she does push me to do things that like I wouldn't do on my own. So anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed that book. The 5th book I read was Amulet Volume 6. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. It picked up quite a bit, and it's the last one that's out right now. I'm very excited to get some more of those out. Number 6, the 6th book I read was Burned by Ellen Hopkins, which is great for a readathon. If you don't know, Ellen Hopkins writes in verse, and so they're very fast to get through, and they all deal with very like real teenage topics. Some of them can be somewhat difficult to get through. Burned was really good. I really enjoyed it. It had was about a teenage girl and her life kind of being raised in a sect of a religion that was cult-like, and where they married off their kids really early, and you could have multiple wives, and the husband was like super duper in control to the point of if they abused you, it was fine. It was a sect of Mormonism. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. It left on a cliffhanger, which you could totally read it by itself, and it was meant, I think, to end that way, leaving you going while you kind of fill in your own ending of what you think happens. But then she did end up writing a sequel, and I also read that this month, so now I know what really happens. Then book number 7 was Soulless by Gail Carringer. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I read this because Lindsay Ray from the channel, recommended it to people, and she did an author spotlight on Gail, and just really made me want to try the story. It's the first book of the Parasol Protectorate series. I have the other ones here. I can't wait to get to them. I had to borrow it from the library. I'm hoping to get my hands on the physical copies sometime because I love them that much. It is a paranormal story, which struck me as odd that I enjoyed it because I do not typically like paranormal. It's not my thing. But this did have werewolves and vampires. But it was done very tastefully, in my opinion. And the main character it's kind of set in Victorian England, and it has steampunk aspects to it, which I love that. And it has, like, the main character, she's kind of airheady at times, which I think is fun to read. Her perspective is totally, it's like so cool to read from. She's very, like, tries to be prim and proper and have society stuff. But crazy things happen to her, and I love like the juxtaposition of proper English, you know, old school stuff with all of this like paranormal world. I love it. It's hilarious. And so the premise of the story is that she is soulless, which means she has no soul. And the werewolves and vampires and creatures like that are people who have extra soul, are the ones that can get turned into that. And so when not very many people are soulless, and when she touches somebody who is a vampire or werewolf, they go back to their human form and not their supernatural form. And so yeah, it's just the story of all of that. It's very, very good. I highly recommend it. And I'm guessing everything else by Gail Carringer, which I will definitely read everything she's written. I love her so much. The 8th book I read was The Inimitable Jeeves, and I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. That's by P.G. Wodehouse. I've been wanting to pick this up ever since I heard Words of a Reader talk about it. She loves Wodehouse. And Words of a Reader is one of the very first people I started watching on BookTube. Funny, I don't watch her as much as I used to, which I think is kind of odd. I don't know why. But anyway, she's still really good. You should totally check her out. She's from Australia, and she talks about a lot of different books that you don't hear as much about. And so I think she's fun to watch. Anyway, she loves Wodehouse, so I wanted to give it a try, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I don't think I could read them back to back and like marathon all of them, but they're great when you just want something lighthearted and has, like, you know, British tongue-in-cheek humor. And the main character is Wooster, and his gentleman butler guy is Jeeves. And Wooster is always getting himself into all sorts of trouble, and Jeeves is always bailing him out. And they almost read like short stories, like each chapter somewhere resolves, but then there's like a bigger resolution. They kind of all fit together, if that makes sense. It's great. I loved it. Next was number 9 on my list, if you're keeping track, was Boxers by Jean Luan Yang, and I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. Thinking back to it, I don't know. Afterwards I was like 4 out of 5, and now I'm kind of like, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, so probably not 4 out of 5. I probably should rate it much less. I should probably go back and change that on Goodreads. But anyway, it's a story of the Boxer Rebellion in China, told in graphic novel form. It is interesting. I don't know, the artwork definitely, it was ugly. Not my thing at all, in my personal opinion. I'm very picky about artwork though. Like, I like see people all the time open up graphic novels and like, the artwork is beautiful. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I guess I'm like more realistic looking. Well, not even, I don't know. It's just not my thing, I suppose. So let's just move on from that. Number 10, the 10th book I read was Smoke by Ellen Hopkins. I rated that 4 out of 5 as well. That is the follow-up to Burned. The beginning part kind of tells you how Burned ended, and it is totally not how I thought Burned ended. It was a great story, a great continuation of the story, and I really enjoyed it. Next was number 11 is The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley. I gave this a 4 out of 5. This is a Flavia de Luce novel, and Flavia is a 11-year-old detective. Well, she's not really a detective, but she's an 11-year-old who lives in this super nice estate in England, and her mother has died, and she lives with her, I want to say her sister and her dad. I believe that's correct. There's a whole series of novels. They're mysteries, and they're told from her perspective as she tries to figure things out, and it's kind of like this little childhood detective, and they're really good. I liked it a lot. I liked her perspective, and I liked just the quirkiness of the whole thing, and the mystery was great. I highly recommend them if you like mystery. Number 12, the 12th book I read was The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. I gave that 4 out of 5. That is a middle grade. I wouldn't really call it a graphic novel. It kind of is. I don't know if you've read those kind of books where they'll do the art, they'll put in like pencil drawings, but it's not like a comic book style. So it's still a graphic novel, but it's just not comic book style. There's pages of text, then there's like pretty typography done or pictures that go along with it, and it was all black and white pictures. It was really good. I highly recommend it. The story is fascinating. I can't wait to get my son to read it. It's won some award, I can't remember which one, but it's really good. I really do recommend it. It's thick, but it doesn't take you that long to get through because it's, you know, a graphic novel, so, and middle grade. The 13th book I read was Saints by Jean Luan Yang. I gave that 3 out of 5, which like I said, I may rate those lower. That's from the Boxer and Saints duology. So the Boxer Rebellion series, or the Boxers book, talks about it from the Boxers' perspective, and the Saints book talks about it from the Catholic missionaries' perspective. Kind of. I was hoping for more. I was hoping it would really be from that. It was more from a convert who didn't really convert, and it was an interesting take, I suppose, on that, but it wasn't my favorite. Number 14 was When You Reach Me by Rebecca Steed. I gave that 4 out of 5. That is a middle grade novel. That was a traveling book that ACOS sent out, and it was so good. It's like about time travel and all sorts of other cuteness. and quirkiness in it, and getting to read everybody else's opinions in that was awesome. Like Sabrina from Staccaccino had read it, Felicia from Little Prairie Library had read it, Patty from I Smell Books had read it. It seems like there was one or two more. And so you got to see their signatures, which was cool. I'm like, oh, I'm holding a book that they've all held, like people I really like, and seeing what they wrote on the sides, you know, sometimes just made me laugh out loud. This book did make me laugh out loud, just the book itself, so I highly recommend it. And, you know, contact Akos. I'll try to remember to link her channel down below if you want to get added to the list, because maybe, you know, I don't know how far out she has it planned right now, but you should totally get in on it because it's fun. Number 15 is The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Rae Carson. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. I have the other 2 books here waiting for me. This is a story where the female protagonist, it's a fantasy story, young adult, where the female protagonist is plus sized, and so she's very relatable, especially to me. She emotionally eats and such, and I'm like, I totally get that. But she ends up getting stealed away, and I don't think that's a spoiler, because that's kind of early in the story. Anyway, and just everything that happens from there. It's really good. I truly recommend it. I picked this one up because Lainey from Ginger Reads Lainey had talked about it a lot in her videos, and I was like, I want to try it. It's very good. Number 16 is Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty, which I think her last name is funny because that's from Sherlock Holmes' villain. Anyway, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is an adult novel. It's pretty thick, but I was so engrossed in it that I just kept reading. It was so good. It's almost like a mommy version of Mean Girls, which I don't know if that sells it to you or not, but it's about this PTA, and there's a whole mystery behind it because somebody's died, and so it's kind of leading you through all of the events that happened to get up to that point, and it was good. It was really good. I highly recommend it. The 17th book I read was Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians by Brandon Sanderson. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. My son's reading it now. It's his middle grade series, and Alcatraz is just a normal teenage boy who's in foster care, but come to find out he is not so average, and there's a whole fantasy world that he doesn't know about where the evil librarians are keeping everybody under control, and they don't really know all there is to know about the world. It's great, and Brandon's sense of humor comes through. It's funny, and it's just really enjoyable and really quick reads. If you've been reading Brandon Sanderson from Mirror of Cosmere and really enjoy his style, I would highly recommend picking these up because they're just a different, less serious version of him that is quite fun to read. And lastly, for the 18th book in May, I read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This has been going around BookTube like crazy. It's her debut novel, and it's fantastic. It's kind of like a mystery thriller about this woman who loses her job, but she continues to ride the train every day because she doesn't want her roommate to find out she doesn't have a job. And she continues to ride it every day, but she's an alcoholic and she has some issues, and she kind of keeps seeing these 2 people like on their deck as they pass every day, and she specifically looks for them and has named them, and then something happens and you have to try to figure out what's going on. It's very interesting. Had me guessing till the end. Don't read ahead in this book. Don't look at the end of the book first if you're prone to do that. Just read it and see what happens. It's really good, and I highly recommend it. So those are the books I read in May. June will most likely not be as many because I have some big hefty books to get through in May, or in June, which I'll be filming a TBR shortly, probably right after this one. So yes, if you've read any of these books and want to talk about them in the comments, I would love that. And until next time, I'll chat with y'all later.